Hey everybody, and welcome to another JASP video. In this video, I'm going to describe and explore a new module that is part of JASP's 0.96 edition. So one of the things that JASP and Jamovi have been at odds with, I suppose, as far as like usefulness of programs. Don't get me wrong, they're both phenomenal programs that I think everyone should use, but deciding which one should be used for a particular use case is difficult. And one of the things that Jamovi has had in the past is a robust additional module and packages because of how flexible R is in its makeup, right? But with this new version of 0.96, JASP has changed the game, folks. So if we go up here to the modules menu, the plus sign here, we have a new addition, adding and subtracting modules on the fly. And you can see here that we have a pair of channels, as well as potential betas if you want to play around with maybe potentially more buggy implementations. You can search here, but what it has is the official JASP modules like acceptance sampling, ANOVA, audit, Bayes, Bain, BF, right? This is all what you've seen in the past here on the side since like 0.17 or whatever it's been. It's been a few years since then. And it's all in alphabetical order, and they've all been up here. You can access some without data open. You can access others unless a data value is open. But this new edition of community is where JASP is going to grow. And I think, you know, if you are figuring, well, should I use Jamovi? Should I use JASP? This is, which means I should probably this summer update my, are you choosing JASP or are you choosing Jamovi video, since it's been a few years. So we'll do that side-by-side comparison for sure this year. So in any case, one of the things that I noticed when I checked on community is that there are two new modules that you can get, even though 0.96 has only been out for about about a week. So if I scroll down here, and there's a test module. I'm not going to install the test module because it's to test stuff with. There's probably nothing much to do for an end user like me. But after the last, although there are some issues here with alphabetical order, it's been pretty good. It's been pretty good. The R console, I think, has always been down at the bottom, but this has always been in alphabetical order. There might be an issue with alphabetizing this. But down here, you can see there are two community. They have this label here, community, which means they were made by other individuals. So we have this dyads, which I'm not going to install because I don't need to. I know I have all of these checked and I don't do all of them, but they're all JASP ones. So, you know, I always want to use that in any case. I mean, I could install dyads. I install everything in Jamovi. So, but actually, you know what? Since I'm here, I'll show you how to install, but we are going to focus on synthetic data in this video. It's a lot to say before I even get to the module of focus. So that's been made by doomlab. I love it. So you can click on, you can see that I already installed it. You can click on uninstall, but there's also a trash can option down here to do the same thing. But when you hit install, what it does is it downloads it from probably somewhere, the server, the JASP server, and then it puts it in your grouping here. Now it puts it at the bottom. So I'm assuming that it puts it all the way over here. Yeah. And so you can do single level and multi-level, but we're not doing that. We're doing synthetic data. So that is the new online modules game changer for JASP 100% before it releases version 1. But let's talk about synthetic data. I'm sure somebody will mark in the comments when I actually start talking about synthetic data in this. So kudos to the doomlab. So as you can see, synthetic data, I have no data file open, is not accessible. So this is one of the modules you have to have synthetic data, or excuse me, data open to do that. So what I did some pre-planning here. And so I chose the box plot, and I'm just going to open the data rather than the JASP wrapper that has all of the output and everything. I'm just going to open this box plot data. And what it does is it opens up this 150 case data set of 3 different kinds of flowers, Setosa, versicolor, and virginica. I don't know if those are real species or not. And then we have four variables for their sepal length and width and their petal length and width, right? Now you can access this data set as a CSV file if you go, so you have to go into the JASP app and then look at its contents if you're on a Mac. I'm not entirely sure the directory for finding the data library data sets, but what I did was I opened it up here. So here it is. So this is that data in a CSV file. I'm using Excel here, right? So here are all those data files, right? Useful to have, useful to compare to what you do in synthetic data. So we'll go up to synthetic data. You can see there's a robot here. What this is going to do is make new data for you. Now, this is a above the board module. There is no use here that indicates that you should be engaging in any kind of scientific fraud. I think it's important to let that disclaimer out. I could have used this actually last week for this particular honest, non-fraudulent use case, which was creating data for a homework assignment. I was frantically looking for a mixed data set that I hadn't used before, a mixed factorial data set for a new problem in one of my classes, in my research methods and stats class that I hadn't had before, because I like change things up sometimes. And it's very difficult to find data sets to use, not only for homework assignments, but in class practice assignments. And really what would have helped is if I had used one of the, data library, either from JASP or Jamovi. Totally forgot about JASP because I used Jamovi in my class. Totally forgot about JASP's data library files. And what I could have done was use an existing file and created a new data set from it. So it would have had the same structure as before, but a new data set that would have given me essentially a new problem, which is extremely useful in a situation like this. So doomlab created this. So it's a very simple module. There's not a lot to do. You take your variables that you want to create synthetic data. So I'm going to use all of these continuous sepal length, width, and petal length and width, and I'm going to move them over. See, nothing happens until you know what? We're going to turn it off because there it goes. It didn't. That's something that can happen. I showed this in a previous video. You might need to close the module and reopen it if you don't get the initializing module show up. You should see this, otherwise it's not going to work yet. You have to see this before you do anything. So I'm going to grab these 4 like I did just a second ago. And as you can see, it gives me the variables and their type, as well as new data, and it just makes a ton of trailing values. Like these are all random, but not random in a sense that is too random. And I'll show you in the options what I mean there. So the first thing is you'll either save same number of rows, or you want to change the number of rows. And if you change the number of rows, it gives you an ability to change that value, right? So same number of rows would be 150 cases for these new variables, and you can just do whatever you want with the species. I didn't choose species because it's not continuous data, and I don't know what it would do. Probably. Well, let's see what happens if I choose that. Okay, what it does is it randomly chooses one of the categorical labels and just says, okay, well, this one's going to be a versicolor. This one's going to be a versicolor. These next 3 are going to be Virginia cow, and then it'll do that 150 times, unless I change the number of rows, and then it will be for whatever times I do. So you could do that as well if you have group level data. It's essentially randomly assigning somebody to an experimental group or a control group or whatever, right? There is no control over that randomness though, so be careful you don't run into something that could happen, which is a lack of equivalency because the groups have kind of become unequal. In that case, I've probably just assign the new set of species myself. And I'll show you in the CSV file that I created before that, before I started recording for this. So you can generate a random seed to control reproducibility, right? So this is something that you could then use in a reproducibility project. Again, this is not about creating fake data for making fraudulent scientific claims. This is about, learning about how to do stuff, right? And then the jitter fraction controls the size of jitter applied to numeric columns after resampling rows. 0 means no jitter. So my assumption is that this jitter is essentially creating the amount of difference in a randomized value from a specific cell. So if we take first row sepal length is 6.1, well, if we take the original data, that was 5.1. So the jitter sort of keeps that close. Another one is the next one, 4.9 is the next one down, and then that is 5.6. So that's what I think that the jitter is doing. It's not clear in the help file for this. It just says controls the size of jitter applied to numeric columns after resampling rows. 0 means no jitter. I mean, if we change this to 0, let's just change this to 0 and see what happens. Okay, so it's about how much information is presented. 0.5. Yeah, it's about how much information is presented. Okay, not about the actual randomized values. All right, so I would keep, even though it's 0.05 jitter, I would keep it as 0. That seems like it would be the most useful, because if you come over here to keep that equivalent, I did not in my previous save, but we only have a 10th decimal place, whereas here now we have a 10th and or nothing. I don't know. 0.1? What does that do? I don't really understand the jitter length here. 0.05 is default. I guess it's the amount of spacing in between rows. It's very strange. Okay. In any case, let's just leave it at 0. How about that? There we go. So those are your only options for creating this. And even though I've messed around with this, nothing has actually changed in the data that has been generated. So really the data that's been generated in not only the first 10 rows, but in the subsequent number of rows has already been generated once you move the variables over, and that's it. Then the other thing here is you can save as. So it says pick a file path. You can type it in or browse once. I always use browse and then click run, although there is no run enter. I guess you hit enter on your keyboard to write the CSV to disk. Re-entering the path isn't necessary. You can save by clicking in the box and hitting enter key. So I just did browse and I typed in what I wanted to call it, and I saved it to my desktop just to show you all today, right? And let me show you. So I saved it as boxploy, I guess, because I can't type. Boxploy synthetic. And so this is an entirely new data set. So this was a run that I did previous to the recording of this video. Entirely new data set of 150 rows of stuff. And as you can see, I did not put in the species in the E column here, right? Like it is in the boxplot data, right? I did not include that in my previous one, even though I did here, right? So just to point that out. And then what I would probably do is I would highlight all of these. I would Command C to copy, and then I would bring this over. And then here I would Command V, and obviously there are differences here, right? In data presentation, I can change that in those, right? I can grab these and just, oops, nope, wrong way, and do the exact same thing. There you go. And then the other thing that I was suggesting is I was just going to select all of these. So we sampled, 50 of each again, right? And then you can resort if you'd like. There you go. And so now you have a double the size box plot data set, or whatever data set you're in. You have double the size now. We have 300 cases instead of 150 cases. And we have 100 sampled Setosa, 100 sampled Versicolor, and 100 sampled Virginica. And we can then see what happens with this new random set of data in an effort to explore all of the outcomes. So this is a really cool new module in JASP, and I'm looking forward to the community coming up with new modules that we can play with, in addition to all of the fun modules that come with JASP already. And that's going to do it for this video. If you have any comments, suggestions, questions, or other feedback, please leave that down in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.